All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Monday, January 15th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat Clayton. It was a 4-day weekend. So we are going to go over a big 4-day weekend, two huge releases at the box office. So an exciting weekend. So why don't we get to a plow for the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend of Friday, January 12th.
All right. Number one, Mean Girls had a 3-day of $28 million and a 4-day of $32 million. It is its first weekend of release. Number two, The Beekeeper had a 3-day of 16.8 million and a 4-day of 19.2 million, also a debut. Number three, Wonka made 8.3 in its 3-day, down 40%. In its 4-day was $10.8 million. It's at $178.6 million in its fifth weekend. Number four, Migration had a 3-day of $6.19 million, down 38%. It had a 4-day of 8.3. Its total after 4 weeks is $87.8 million. And it just keeps on rolling. Anyone But You had a 3-day of $6.9 million, down only 29%. It had a 4-day of 8.2, and it's at $56.4 million in its fourth weekend. Part of that was me. I went and saw this movie, Pat.
Wow. So, I mean, let's start there. This is the big phenomenon right now. Anyone But You talking, is this something about Mary-esque? And you went to see it. So we're not critics, huh?
Huh?
But as box office observers, it is important for us to see these films and to be there and feel what the crowds are seeing. So do you get it? Having seen Anyone But You, do you get why this movie is becoming something of a phenomenon, holding so well, bringing back the rom-com? Do you get it, Clayton?
Sort of. I
Okay.
think this is doing really well with young people because this is like something not new to them, but it's almost like, oh, I was watching all these crappy versions of this on Netflix, and now here's a real one in theaters. This is nothing that we haven't seen before, Pat.
Nothing we haven't seen
No,
before. Okay.
nothing we haven't seen before, but
Okay.
it's
But
with
we've
some
seen
new,
it all. Me and you have seen it all.
yeah, it's with some new faces, right?
Okay.
New-ish faces. Glenn Powell, your Sydney Sweeney. The fact that they're on the big screen, they're doing their thing. I get it in that sense. I get that Sydney Sweeney has such a fan base from Euphoria and the various things that she's done. I mean, also White Lotus. We sleep on White Lotus, but she was in White Lotus season 1, which was huge.
Yep.
So I do think that there is so much love for Sydney Sweeney out there. And I'll tell you what, not a critic, huh?
Huh?
Not listen, I'm a member of SAG in bad standing, but I will admit, I'm a terrible actor, okay? I'm terrible.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
terrible. I was
Ooh.
terrible, and I still am terrible.
See, I'm not in SAG. I have
Uh-huh.
done some acting in my time. I feel like I'm a very good actor. So it's interesting to see that you, someone who has been paid. I honestly have never really been paid as an actor, but
Yeah.
you've been paid as an actor. You've been on a Martin Scorsese set, and you think you're not good.
Well, here's the thing,
Whereas
w
I
and
think I'm pretty good. I often will
oh,
watch a movie and think, yeah,
well,
I
famously, we've had this conversation, I don't know if this has been on air, but, after The Whale, after we watched The Whale,
yes, yes,
you
that's the
said
big one.
you could do that performance better than Brendan Fraser, and I agree with you.
100%.
Now,
100% I could do that performance better.
would you have
It
gotten the Oscar? Probably not because politics.
Well, because I wouldn't have the comeback story,
Yeah,
you
there's no
know?
story. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It would be
here's
like, here's a fresh new face who just knocked it out of the park, but usually that's not who wins the Oscar.
well, I think you'd be at a sort of disadvantage because 'cause you'd be a podcaster turned actor, which is
R Right,
no
right.
one's gonna be rooting for you, okay?
No one's gonna be rooting for me. Yeah, yeah.
But, here's what this is all coming to.
Mhm.
I think Sydney Sweeney is a movie star.
Okay.
I don't think she's an actor in the sense of like, you know, they're, your Robert De
Dame Judi
Niro's, your
Dench,
Dame Judi Dench's, your
Dame
uh
Helen Mirren.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Not in her toolbox,
Yeah.
but
Laurence Olivier.
Laurence Olivier.
You wouldn't say Sydney Sweeney is a new Laurence Olivier.
Miss Laurence Olivier, no.
Right.
No, I think Laurence Olivier is a man. Okay,
Is a
that's
man.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
man
yeah. I
baby,
thought you
yeah.
said Laura Olivier. Okay. That's just a friend of mine. I do think though that she has that thing that Julia
Mhm.
Roberts has, right? That you want to watch this person. Now, is there a deep well of like acting talent there? Probably not, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you're a star, right?
Mm.
And so
Okay.
I see that for sure. And that's going to sound like a knock, but it's not a knock because we have too many actors. We don't have
Right.
enough stars. Everybody from Britain can act. Everybody from New Zealand can act.
Right.
Everybody from Australia can act. Americans sort of can't act, but they're also not stars. And we need American stars. And
There was
she's
a
an
t
American star.
there was a long period where Americans couldn't act, but we could be stars. We
Yes.
could put out a Mr. T because we were
Hmm.
able to put out stars, not
Yes.
actors, but stars.
Yes.
And obviously, we're not gonna put out actors the way, uh, England does, the way
No.
Australia does, but we were always able to put out a Steven Seagal,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah,
a Bo
absolutely.
Derek. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
we've
in
lost
that
that.
in that sense, I get it. Now, I can't tell you what the audience reaction was other than, me and the person I was with because we were the only people in the theater, but it was a 10 a.m. showing on a Friday, so
Right,
not necessarily the time that a lot of people are gonna go see this movie.
right.
But when we're talking something about Mary, there's no show-stopping, gel in the hair.
Okay,
Gel in the hair. There's none
yeah,
of that. There's not even a naked fight like No Hard Feelings. There's nothing like that. There's no sort of, "Oh, this is the scene. This is the scene."
right.
It's just beautiful people, including the leads and the parents and the other love interests, except for the love interest for Sydney Sweeney, who is really a D-level sort of actor. I don't know where they found this kid, but really got blown off the screen by everybody else. Otherwise, fun. It's a fun little thing that you can go and you can, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the beautiful people. It was funny in places. It was sweet in places. I
How
sort of
raunchy was it? Because 'Cause I've gotten mixed.
not raunchy.
Not raunchy, okay.
No, I mean it's sexy. I mean there's some
This isn't a
sexiness to it.
Tomcats level raunchiness. This isn't
No,
a Road Trip 2 straight to video level of raunchiness.
I I wonder
Mhm.
if there is ever gonna be a time where we will see a Tomcats again in the theater.
Yeah. Not in the
I don't
theater, probably not in the theater, yeah.
not in the theater. I can't see that level of raunch,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
being allowed in a theater
yeah. A level of
legally.
raunch where you have to get Bill Maher to act in your film.
Mhm,
That
mhm.
level of raunch may never
A
come again.
and be the least sleazy element of
Right,
it,
right,
right?
right,
That's really hard to pull off.
right.
Now, I will tell you, talking about something about Mary, Pat, do you have any plans to see this movie?
Anyone but you? I do. At this point, I will say it most likely will not be in theaters because at this
Okay.
point, you have seen it. You saw it with another friend who's another frequent movie going companion of mine. My wife
Mhm.
has no interest in seeing this film.
No interest.
And I don't.
Shocking.
No interest. No interest. And I don't think I will see this by myself.
Okay.
I'm saving the go by myself movie the next couple of weeks. Is I would probably go see All of Us Strangers by myself. I've already marked off that as the film I will see by myself. But
Okay.
anyone but you, I don't think I'm going to see in the theaters. I know it's on PVOD now, or I think maybe next week. It's on very soon.
N
If
so That has been nixed.
That has
That
been
is
nixed.
not true. The 23rd
Excellent.
is a faulty date. That is not true.
Not happening.
They're
Great. I mean,
keeping it
even the
going. They know. It's a phenomenon.
I personally would rather wait than see it next week on PVOD because I want this movie to keep making money at the box office.
Mhm.
We need this. And it's a Sony to Netflix situation. Those movies usually don't go to Netflix for a decent amount. It's not
Mhm.
like Universal films end up on Peacock in 3 weeks. Renfield was on Peacock 2 or 3 weeks after it came out. That's not going to happen here, and I'm happy to wait. So you
'Cause
said,
yeah.
so to answer your question, I probably will not see this for a while. So is there something you feel you need to tell me?
Well, there's just something that's very something about Mary about this movie
Okay.
that when we saw it, me and the person I was with,
Yes.
we were laughing because we were talking about the comparison between these 2 movies. Now, it's not a raunch thing.
Is it a
It's
dog thing? Is it a dog
no,
thing?
it's a
Okay.
it's an end credits thing, which I totally am giving it away there.
Oh,
But
great.
it
Okay.
yeah,
Different
but
song, right?
different song, but
Different song. Okay.
it's like the comparison, it was so on the nose, and Will Glick, obviously, Will Gluck, I'm sorry,
Will Gluck, yeah.
Will Gluck, not Jiminy Glick,
Right.
but,
Different people. Yeah.
different people, but
Yeah.
I was like, "He knows."
He knows.
Like,
Yes.
by doing that, he almost ensured a sort of something about Mary, at least looking at it in a similar light.
Okay. Yeah. And I feel like that was a thing that some other movies did do in the years after There's Something About Mary. I mean,
Uh-huh.
let's just give it away. It's a post movie old song sing along. Is that
Yeah.
what you're talking
Yes,
about? Yeah.
yes.
What was that movie that Cameron Diaz did with
Sweetest
The
thing.
Sweetest Thing? I'm almost positive The Sweetest Thing also ended with a old
Yes.
60s song that the cast sang along to and showed outtakes. I feel like that was a trend. Hey, good on anyone but you to bring that back. People
But
have
it's not a
happy memories
60s
of.
song. It's not a 60s song.
Oh, well, because now it would be like a song from the 2000s would be,
Yep.
an old-timey song now. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Very, very well. I mean, now I'm motivated again. Maybe I do see this in the movie theater by
I
myself.
think you
Maybe I
gotta
do it.
see it. I think you gotta see it.
I gotta see it for this song. I guess that's the big you gotta see it situation is what
Mhm.
is the song at the end of Anyone But You that they all dance to? Okay, now I'm back in. Now I gotta see this in theaters.
When it started happening, I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Pat's gotta see this movie
Gotta
now."
see this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Very excited. Last thing on Anyone But You. Now that you've seen it, and it seems like you're gonna say yes. It's Sydney Sweeney, right? Is the reason why this is the hit more so than Glenn Powell.
Uh, uh,
It
uh,
This is
yeah.
her movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think Glenn Powell does a great job. I really like Glenn Powell. I think he's like he is like the perfect guy for this part. Although, uh, not a critic, huh?
Uh
I do think the character is sort of like inconsistent, but I think he makes it work because he has that skill. But I do think she's the star here. She's the
wow.
reason to see this movie. This is gonna be this is gonna be a movie people go to see to look at her on the big screen.
Great. Well, we talked about it last episode on our weekend preview. Another film we saw recently was we went to see Jason Statham in The Beekeeper on opening Thursday night. We both loved
Mhm.
that film. Go back to the last episode to get our full boots on the ground review. We both thought that this was a better than usual Jason Statham solo star. Obviously, he's in the cast of the Fast and Furious movies, and he's in Spy, and he's in The Meg, which is sort of he's the star, but also it's a big special effects movie. This is more akin to his Transporters, his Cranks, his solo action movies. And
Mhm.
we both like The Beekeeper much more than we usually like those movies. And I would say this one did perform on the very high end of those Jason Statham solo action movies. Would you say that this opening weekend was the best case scenario for The Beekeeper?
Absolutely. I mean, this thing almost made it to 20 in the
in the 4-day.
4-day, and that's
Yeah.
big.
Yeah, 16.8 in the usual weekend, 19.2 when you throw in the Monday holiday. I mean, because he's the $10 million man. That Wrath of Man opened around 8, Transporter movies open around 9 or 10. Like, that's his place,
Well,
and
Transporter 2 was his biggest before this. Let me see, because Transporter was 16.5,
okay,
and
okay,
this ended up being 16.5. So it's almost a tie. It's a near
okay,
tie.
okay.
It looks like the Beekeeper has the edge here. So that was all the way back in 2006. So we're
Well,
talking a guy who has staying power and is getting stronger.
yeah, okay, that I'm glad you touched on that because when I saw the date of Transporter 2 and that movie came out, I have it listed 2005, maybe that was a festival premiere, but you're going on 18 years of Statham, probably earlier. His Transporter 1 and Crank, those probably came out a few years earlier. When you compare him to our 80s action stars, and not counting Stallone because he's a real actor, he's a screenwriter, not counting like a Bruce Willis who's a real actor,
Oh, I
but
was wrong. 2005. I'm sorry. I was looking at the video release. We're
2005.
talking 2005. So you're right. You're right.
So
2005.
you compare the Statham box office run to, Schwarzenegger. Obviously, Schwarzenegger hit highs. Statham has never hit, never will hit. But,
Mhm.
your Seagals and your Van Dams and your sort of 80s, 90s action stars, Statham maybe never hit as high on his own as those guys, though he hit higher when he's in the Meg, when he's in Fast and Furious. But he has better staying power than maybe any other action star of our generation.
I agree. I mean, I think when you look at somebody like Seagal, his run was very short. Van
Very
Damme's
short.
run was also very short.
Yeah.
And we can't talk Stallone, Schwarzenegger. They're in a different echelon
Different echelon. But a
completely.
Chuck
Yeah.
Norris, I guess Chuck Norris, his run was lengthened because he was on a TV show, but that we're not talking TV, we're not talking
N-
Streamo, we're not talking
No.
CBS on a Saturday night, we're talking
No.
movies. Chuck Norris has not had the box office run of Statham. I mean, by the 90s, he's doing sidekicks. He's a joke.
Yeah.
He's a
And
joke.
so and Statham
You could
has
do all
been
the all you all the this Chuck Norris memes, bees don't sting Chuck Norris, he stings them. I don't know, whatever those memes are. Guess
yeah.
what? Take all those Chuck Norris memes, shove them up your butt because the guy was a box office joke very quickly.
I mean, Statham's been making hit movies since before Chuck Norris memes were a thing,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Yep.
Chuck Norris memes came and went, and this guy's still bringing the butts to the seats because
And Statham will be making box office hits when Chuck Norris is in a pine box. And I know you may love those Chuck Norris memes, but someday Chuck Norris will be in a pine box and he's not going to kick his way out of it.
mhm. So the thing with Statham too is that a lot of his career, now not the early part of it because you're the Crank and the Transporter, he's been competing with superhero movies, right?
Yes.
The action movie has taken a hit because the superhero movies took up all of that sort of juice,
Mhm.
where instead of the one man who trained and earned the ability to kick ass was being replaced by teenagers getting bit by spiders
Yep.
and rich fascists creating armor for themselves
Yep.
and gods coming down to kick some innocuous whatever
Blob, a purple blob.
purple blob's ass in that sort of thing, the action star, the fact that Jason Statham continued to thrive, he had his, like you said, the Meg, it was more about the shark, but also he is a value add. You
Yep.
put like,
Well, he's
you
the
put,
star of those movies. He's the star
yeah,
of the Meg movies.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you put anybody else in there, and that those movies aren't going to make as much money.
Right.
He got in the Fast and Furious, which was great. That's awesome. I mean, he started
Yep.
out as a villain, and people loved him so much that now he just goes to the barbecues, even though he
Yep.
tried to kill so many people that they know. But he is able to survive the superhero boom. And now he is going to be even bigger because
Yeah.
people are really looking for that sort of action hero again.
Yes.
Right? They're looking Expendables
Grounded.
4 doesn't count. He did that movie because he's a loyal guy.
Right.
He wanted to do Good by Sly, maybe contractual, I don't know, but that is not gonna ding him because that's not his franchise. He was
Right.
just part of that. I think going forward, if he does more movies like The Beekeeper, there's no I mean, he could have a $30 million opener, just as a solo guy. I mean, it's
Yes.
possible with the right vehicle because people want this now. They don't want superheroes anymore. They want this. They want beekeepers,
Right.
okay?
And
They
and
don't
the
want
thing
Ant-Man. They want beekeepers.
Yes, and they don't want bee man. Don't
No.
want a man who got bit by a bee and now he's got all the powers of a bee. They want a beekeeper who has a job, and his job is to
Mhm.
keep bees, not to be bit by bees and have magic in his veins. That's not what people want at the box office right now. They want real stars, and a movie like The Beekeeper doesn't Statham doesn't need to have a movie, a solo actioner that opens at 30 or 40 million. That's not maybe what the box office it needs to be healthy in this new phase. It needs to have more beekeepers throughout the course of the year that could open to 18 million, 20 million, low
Yeah.
20 millions and still be successful. Obviously, we need to have more of those on the schedule. This 2024 schedule is too sparse because of the work stoppages, the production stoppages last year. But that's what we need. We can't rely on B Man has to come out and make $200 million opening weekend. No, let's have beekeepers that could open at $20 million every other weekend.
And I feel like this with the Statham sort of resurgence, I mean, he never went away, but the increased sort of popularity of these non-franchise action movies. I mean, Jerry Butler had Plane
Right.
last year. I think he needs his sort of David Ayers directed actioneer where he can get into this echelon because he's also been staying fast. He's also been a guy who's still sort of there.
Right.
And I think there's, with the Fallen movies, those
Mhm.
have done well. I think that he can be a Statham too, where he can have another movie that is maybe not his personal best, but he can continue to have like $20 million movies, sort of like The Beekeeper, because there is a hunger for it. He
Right.
is a guy who survived the superhero plague, and he will come out stronger as well. I mean,
Yes,
Den
and
of
in
Thieves 2. Den of Thieves 2 comes out next year. Our asses are there Thursday night.
100%. And that's the type of movie, A Den of Thieves 2, that would get so much, and listen, there's always a danger. Is it snakes on a plane? Is it just sort of internet buzz that doesn't translate to tickets? But I do think A Den of Thieves 2 would feel like an event if they're able to get a Statham in there as the villain, as the cop who's chasing the thieves. That's
Mhm.
what you need, something like that. But yet, Jerry Butler needs his beekeeper now.
Yeah.
Is he a wrangles badgers and then he fights bad guys, something like that. But that is what people want. They want to see action stars with real jobs and real hobbies, like keeping bees, like wrangling badgers. They don't
Emu
want to see.
Farmer.
Yep. Yeah. But they don't want them getting bit by radioactive animals and having the powers of the animals. That is not what people want anymore.
No. They don't want Captain America, who's a junkie. He's a junkie. He took drugs, everybody.
Right.
Wake up, America.
Right.
Your captain is a drug addict,
Right.
okay? We can't have that. We
Right.
need a beekeeper, not a
Right.
drug addict. That's what we need.
So the beekeeper, I'm trying to see if there's any demos on this movie for the weekend. Obviously, I'm gonna guess it was heavily, heavily male. Have you seen any demos for this? I'm gonna bet, and I'm looking for it now, that the demos on this were probably pretty diverse. I feel
So,
like
Pat,
it
can I give you the demos or do you wanna
oh,
guess?
no, I want you oh, well, let me guess. I don't have them open in front of me. I'm gonna guess that it was less than 50% Caucasian, right around that. I don't think I would bet that a lot of the other diversity demos over index for this movie. That's my guess. So you tell us, what are the demos for the Beekeeper?
Okay, so you want that demo, those demos first, and then we'll give male to female. Okay.
Sure.
44% Caucasian, 22% Latino and Hispanic, 17% Black, 11% Asian,
Great.
right?
So pretty diverse. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty diverse.
Yeah.
62% male, 42% between 18 and 34. That prime
That's
demo.
that's great.
Largest demo, 25 to 34. And that was at 26%, right? So, all the IMAX screens, which was great, and it delivered 40% of the weekend sales. So putting this movie in IMAX really helped it. And we
Yeah.
saw it in IMAX and it was spectacular.
It was spectacular. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is again, I mean, just a great sign for Statham that he's only getting stronger. And yeah, the movie climate, as superhero movies decline, people are going to want more real actioners. So it's an open for the Stathams and the Jerry Butlers. You know, it could be an opening for some of the younger stars who maybe haven't been tainted by superheroes so much. I mean, a Glenn
Mhm.
Powell, he's got
Yeah.
the rom-com, he's got Twisters 2 coming out in the spring. Get Glenn Powell in a Roadhouse type action movie where he's just punching someone in the face.
What about
That get him
Steven
on a
Yeun?
motorcycle.
What about
Yeah.
Steven Yeun in
Yep.
a Die Hard's type of situation?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And for these stars who haven't been tainted by superhero, Statham never did a Marvel movie. Am I missing a Marvel movie where Statham played the green, you know, banana monster or anything like that? He's never did it, right? Fast and Furious was kind of his jumping into the franchises. So he stayed clean.
Mhm.
And
Untainted.
yeah, and someone like a Glenn Powell, or Steven Yeun, they've got that opening now too. So good weekend for action, but action was not number one. Beekeeper was not number one this weekend. Clayton, what can you remind us again? What was number one at the box office this weekend?
Mean Girls.
So Mean Girls did 28 for the 3 day, 30. Is it 33 that it did for the
32.
32 for the 4 day? So, okay. Listen, we went high on this last weekend. We both said
Yeah.
40 plus for the 4 day, but this is for this movie, for Paramount. This is a great opening weekend because reportedly the budget on this movie is 36 million and it was originally made to go to Paramount Plus.
Well, that's the big thing, and oh, sorry, just, so, yes, the latest Monday numbers, 33.2, so a little bit
33.
higher uptick,
Great.
yeah. Yes, I mean, that is key, Pat. This was a movie that coulda gotten dumped,
Yep.
and instead, you got $33 million in box office just right now, and I think the budget on this was close to that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've read it as about 35 million for the budget. Yeah.
yeah. So, I do think that this is a win in this
Mhm.
for this, weekend, definitely. Uh, Although it feels like it's not as popular with audiences as we assumed it would be.
Yeah, I mean, so there has been there was a lot of talk this weekend about were audiences put off by the fact that this was a musical. There
Okay.
were some
This old conversation.
well, there were some viral videos. The veracity of them, is debated, or the truthfulness of them is being debated. Some viral videos of audience members reacting to discovering that the film was a musical. So people filming themselves, watching the movie, then the music starts, and these like young people are shocked and not into the music. So there's some videos of that going around. Now, of course, are these put-ons? I mean, do you think that these seem staged?
Clout chasing.
Is this cloud chasing? Yes.
Yes.
Are you
Here's
are
the
you
thing.
willing to put out the allegation of clout chasing,
I
Clayton.
will absolutely put out the allegation of clout chasing because that's what it is. Because here's the thing:
Okay.
we live in a world of information overload. I know so many things I don't want to know. You know how many things I don't want to know? There's so many things I don't want to know. I want to know very little, Pat.
Right.
I want
Right.
to know about the box office. I want to know when my next paycheck's coming in. I
Right.
want to know if the canary in the mine that I work in is alive or dead. Those are the
Mhm.
things I want to know.
Right.
Okay.
How to get
But I
soot
got,
out of a crevice, that's what you wanna know.
yes, multiple crevices. Here's the thing: there is no way in God's green earth that these people do not know this was a musical. The cursory search for this movie will tell you it is a musical based on the movie, based on the Broadway show. All right. If you cannot put those words together into a cohesive thought to put in your brain and understand it, then you are a true moron. And I don't believe that these people are true morons. I think they're clout chasers, which is worse than being a moron. Okay. Because morons can't help it. These people can. They can help it. They don't have to be this way. They can have authentic reactions to things. They can use the knowledge that they have and not pretend that they're stupid, but they are. Okay. These people are cloud chasers, and it's disgusting.
Wow. So there was some polling on this. The studio, Paramount, did some polling, some exit polls, and they found that 75% of audiences were aware that the film was a musical going into it. So that means that according to their polling, 25% of the audience went to this movie not knowing that this would be a musical. That does feel high to me. To 25% of an audience saying that they did not realize the movie was the genre that it was. Like I obviously I'm someone who doesn't want to know as much as I can about a movie. You don't want to know plot twists and all that. But usually an audience goes into a movie knowing the genre of the movie. So that
Did they
feels high.
think
That
it
feels
was
high.
just a straight remake of the movie? Was that the thought? Because, like, was there more pooling? Did they ask other questions? Like, did you wipe your ass today? Because did those same 25 be like, you have to wipe your ass? Right? I don't know who they're dealing with here.
Right,
Okay.
right.
But the thing is, this is obviously based on the Broadway play. Or maybe I'm too invested in it. Maybe I know too
I
much. Like
don't
I
know if
said,
it's that obvious. I don't know if that's that obvious. They're very cheeky about it in the promotion. They're
but
they're
in
saying
the
it's Mean
trailer,
Girls with a new twist, Tina Fey with a new twist. There's a little musical note buried in like the E of Mean Girls, but
but
it's
Pat,
cheeky. It's cheeky, Clayton.
in the trailer, when they show scenes, even though they're using a Olivia Rodrigo song, right?
Right.
When there are scenes where they are in the hallway dancing and their mouths are moving, do people not understand that that is a musical number? Do they think that it's a dream sequence, that it's some
Maybe.
sort of weird, sort of Twin Peaks David Lynchian nightmares that this main character's having, where they're talking backwards and it's dark light and somebody's stroking a log? Is that what they thought? Did they think this was a Lynchian nightmare and not a musical? I'm having a hard time here, Pat.
They may have. If maybe that exit polling were, what were you expecting, that this movie would be a musical or that there would be a little person talking backwards? And maybe the latter would have been what more people were expecting. I don't know. I mean, people didn't go to that 2021 batch of musicals. West Side Story, In the Heights, Your Beloved Dear Evan Hansen, which brought you to tears. You were a soggy
Mhm.
mess after that movie.
Yep.
Three musicals that did very little at the box office. So there is a good chance that especially the young movie-going audience does not recognize those telltale signs of a musical in a trailer. When they
But Pat,
see a dance break out in a hallway and people's mouths moving in a way that's not dialogue, they just might not know that that's a musical because they didn't see Dear Evan Hansen like you did.
Now, here's the thing. Wonka is a musical.
Yes.
And that if you have a case for a movie not saying that it's a musical and not showing that it's a musical, that is the case. If you told me that 25% of the people who went to see Wonka didn't realize it was going to be a musical, I would understand that. I would get that. Okay? But for me, this trailer was so obviously showing people singing and dancing in unison multiple times in different places that I assumed that people would get that this is a musical.
See, I disagree. Here's why. Because there's been 2 Wonka movies. The Gene Wilder one was had
There were
musical numbers
songs.
in it,
There were
had
songs.
songs. The Johnny Depp one, I think, had songs, but at least his
Oh,
characterization of Wonka was based on Michael Jackson, so there's a big
yeah.
musical element in that movie. Mean Girls was a movie, and Mean Girls was a movie that had no musical aspects to it. So I do understand the 25% of people who went to this Mean Girls remake. The first Mean Girls wasn't a musical. Why would I expect this one to be a musical?
Because it was based on the Broadway play of Mean Girls. It wasn't based
That's you talking as a coastal elite, and me and you are both coastal elites. We get theater tickets all the time. We're always getting asked to sit in the front rows of shows to give it a little extra oomph, let the performers see our faces. But that's us. We're coastal elites. We're New Yorkers, greatest city in the world. You're living out in the stacks. You're a plain Billy. You're an Earth Dog. You're not in that world. You're not in
so
that
then
world. You don't know about the Mean Girls Broadway musical.
so then here's what it comes down to, okay?
Hmm.
They didn't like the songs then because that is the problem. Is not that it's a musical, is that they didn't like the songs because if they liked the songs, they would have been carried away by it and not cared that it was a musical. They would have been into it. Do you think they had that bad of a reaction that as soon as a song a number started, a musical number started, they were so discombobulated that they could not get back into it and enjoy it if it was a spectacular song? I think the real problem here, if there is a problem, and we'll see on the oncoming weeks if it is a problem, is the songbook any good? Are these songs good? Because if the songs are bad, then that's a problem. And I think if I went somewhere and I didn't know this thing was a musical and I forgot to wipe my ass that day
Hmm.
and the songs were great, I would be like, you know what? Didn't know that this was going to happen, but I'm into it.
Right, right, right.
That's
Yeah.
the problem then. It's the songs then.
Well, so the same polling, the same studio polling, 75% of the audiences were aware the film was a musical, and only 16% were left disappointed by the fact that it was a musical.
Okay.
So, that's a small percentage of people who didn't know it was a musical and then were disappointed by the fact it was a musical. So that's a good sign. People seem to be liking this, but they're not liking it to the degree of the 2004 original. I
No.
I, I don't I think that's
Cinema
clear.
score B,
Wow. Okay,
which
not a
might
B
as well
plus.
be an F. That's an F. I
Yeah.
mean, an F is actually an interesting movie. A B is really bad, because the original had an A minus.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
70% recommend, 3 stars for post track. I mean, let's just get into demos here. Packs of women saw this film. 32% under 25 attended with 2 to 4 friends. So this was a group activity.
Mhm.
28% were over the age of 25. 77% of the crowd was between 18 and 34, with 18 to 24-year-olds representing 40%.
Mhm.
So demographics, 52% Caucasian, 26% Latino Hispanic, 11% Black, and 8% Asian.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna have quite the well, I mean, we'll get into it on the weekend preview. The thing that this Mean Girls has going for it is just such a light box office release schedule for the next
Yeah.
4 weeks. Like, it's the big movie for a while. So it's
Mhm.
default what people are gonna have to go to. It doesn't seem as like we talked about on the weekend preview, Lindsay Lohan is not the star of this movie. There's not a big movie star or young, burgeoning big movie star at the level of
No.
Lohan in this. Tina Fey, um, in 2004, she's probably has her finger on the you know, uh, she's probably closer to knowing what young people sound like in 2004 than she does now. Finger on the pulse. That's what I was reaching for. She probably had her finger on the pulse of young people more then than she does now. I don't know if there's a new fetch, for instance, that's going to come out of Mean Girls 2024. I haven't heard anything about something akin to fetch in this movie.
Now, not to go back to our previous conversation, but I'm
Right.
going to. So
Okay.
there's no reason for me to say that sentence I just said. If you had Sydney Sweeney here as the mean girl part, the main
Oh,
mean girl part, because Sydney Sweeney is at that age right now in Hollywood where she could play anywhere from a high school freshman to a young woman who's lived on her own for like a 27, 28-year old, right? Like
yes.
that is the swath of people she can play.
Yeah, she could
And
either
so
be in high school or she could be the love interest for Robert De Niro.
exactly. So
Yeah,
that's where you want to be right now.
yeah,
That's the sweet spot for Hollywood. If she was the mean girl here, we're talking Buffa Boba. We're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
big time,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So you didn't have that.
right.
You know, you had the young lady that I think she was from the Broadway. She actually did the Broadway show who played the
Yeah,
mean girl in this.
yeah, who
And
plays Regina George, yeah.
yeah, and that's just not enough juice. That's
Mhm,
just not enough juice right now.
mhm. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, this opened bigger than the first one by about 3 or 4 million in the 3-day weekend,
Yeah.
33 million. So, this is it's a really good opening weekend. The audience response doesn't seem like this is gonna be any kind of phenomenon, but hey, you know, that's what we said after the opening weekend, Anyone But You. Didn't feel like that was gonna turn into what it's turned into. So,
Yeah.
let's not
But
underestimate the power of women going to the movies this last year. After Barbie, after Taylor Swift, after Anyone But You, let's not underestimate what Mean Girls could do in the next month.
but Pat, the post tracking on Anyone But You was much higher.
Yeah,
People
very
liked
true.
that movie much better. We even looked at it and we were like surprised that people
Yeah.
liked it as much as they did.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you know what? Great job out of Paramount. It's a troubled studio, could be sold for parts soon, but they did a good job promoting this movie. They did a good job getting awareness of this movie out there. They've been promoting it since last year. There was the big Black Friday Mean Girls promotion. They got Lohan to come back for that one, right? They got Lohan. The only one who didn't come back was Rachel McAdams.
I
Um,
believe so.
so they have been building the awareness for this opening weekend, since the summer, kind of. So I think there wasn't a big movie star at the center of this, but Paramount did a good job of making the Mean Girls brand feel like a big deal.
Yeah.
So,
Now, Pat, if
yes,
we would have sat down for the Beekeeper on what was that? Thursday.
last Thursday, yeah.
Thursday last Thursday afternoon. And it was a musical.
Mm,
Then I would have been shocked. Then I could
okay,
see 75-25.
okay.
I still think 25 is way too high. I still think these people need cognitive tests to just see what's wrong with their brains that they couldn't figure out this is a musical.
Really? You thought
Yes.
that so
Yes.
you think all the clues were there?
They gave us all the clues.
Okay. Okay.
If you I listen, if you are a listener and you
Right.
went and saw this movie without knowing that it was a musical, I mean, that would be ridiculous because you're listening
Not a
to us,
listener of
so
this
you
show,
know.
yeah. You know.
If you have a friend that you talk to, ask your friends who went and saw this, Mean Girls, okay? Spread the web out. Ask the friends and say, "Did you know this was a musical before you went?" And if they say no, ask them so many questions and email us.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
really delve into how they get up in the morning. and
Right.
function as a
Right.
human being, okay?
Right.
We need
Right.
to know this. We need to know who these 25% of people who are polled. Now, they may have just bumped into the people who are polling. Like, they may have been like, is there a bathroom here? They might have had like their underwear over their head or something, and that's why they were asked, because they were just wandering around the theater, not knowing where to go. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
probably why the pollster stopped them and was like, "Hey, can I ask you a question?"
Right.
And
Right.
they're like, "Are you my dad? Are you my mommy?" And this is like a 40-year-old man.
Yeah. Can you
Uh,
clean me?
can you clean me? Yeah. That might have skewed the polling because they were just random people just not knowing where they were.
Right, right. It is very possible. It is very possible. Yeah. Email us theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. If you know anyone who saw Mean Girls this weekend and did not know it would be a musical when they went, we want a full psychological study of them, IQ test, whatever information you could pass along to us, let us know. So, Clayton, I want to throw a piece of news at you that you were not ready for this. You did not. I did not prep you that this was happening. You did not see this article when it broke yesterday. Your beloved Scream franchise, probably
In
your favorite.
disarray.
It is in disarray. Scream 7 is they lost their director, they lost their stars, including Jenny Ortega. The entire cast is gone.
Gone.
Entire cast. But those last two Scream movies were big hits. The last
Yeah.
one was the biggest domestic earner since the first Scream, made over
I
$100
think it
million.
I
dollars.
I think it beat the first Scream, didn't it?
Did it you may be right. That Scream 6 Scream was the biggest Scream of the franchise domestically, and yet they're in total disarray. Well, on the red carpet for an event the other day, Nev Campbell got asked if she would, and it was at the BAFTA tea event in Los Angeles. So Nev
Okay.
Campbell was at a tea event, and they asked her, would she ever be in a Scream movie again? And this is what she said: "It's sad to me that they're struggling at the moment. I would imagine that the people at the top are spinning a little bit, trying to make the right decision. I think I would imagine people want to do the right thing. I would hope. I love this franchise. I love it for Wes. I love it for all the people who've been involved, even the newer cast. I would hope it doesn't fall apart." And then, okay, now here it is. Asked if she would rejoin the franchise, Nev Campbell said, "Given the right circumstances, yes. I made a statement several years ago, and it was the reason I didn't do the film at that time. And I just really felt the need to stand up and say, I don't believe I would have been treated that way had I been a man carrying a franchise for 25 years. And that still stands. So if they were to choose to come back to me, that would continue to be my takeaway. We'll see." All right, Clayton, I ask you,
Mhm.
she left the door open.
Yeah.
What would get Nev Campbell to come back and do another Scream movie based on that statement?
Okay. So I don't know Nev Campbell personally.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know, and I'm not gonna get into any sort of listen, I'm not stepping in anything.
No,
Okay?
no, no. We're not, and I don't think
Right?
we have to step in
And we don't
anything to
have to.
parse this. Yeah.
I think that big money,
Yep.
and I do think it would have to be sort of a changing of hands as to who is producing it, right?
Okay. Oh, you think so?
I don't think she would work with Spyglass.
Oh, wow. Okay. Here's what
I
I'll say.
just
I think it's just money. I
you
think
don't
her
think that
statement,
matters at all?
no, I think her statement is
Pay
just,
me.
is just pay me. Yeah.
Is fuck
Yeah.
you, pay me.
Is fuck you, pay me. That is
Okay.
I think if the price is right, Nev Campbell would come back and be the star of Scream 7. I think that is basically what her statement says, is she didn't get a fair enough offer to be in the last movie. If it was a man carrying a franchise for 25 years, which is very true, which
Yeah.
that's what she did,
I mean, I
they
agree with
wouldn't
that.
get lowballed.
No.
So she just wants the money. Now, that said, do you think this happens? Do you think that the people who own the rights to Scream, I guess Spyglass and Paramount, Do they want a Scream sequel so much that they're gonna just give Neve Campbell whatever that amount is? Is it 10,000,000? I'm not sure what that is, but is it
Yeah.
worth it to just make this movie?
No, I mean, I think they might be arrogant enough to believe that that's enough to get people to watch, but I think the fact that they don't have Jenny Ortega,
Mm,
that is the big because they did something amazing, which is successfully hand this franchise off to a younger group of actors.
right.
Almost unheard of.
Yeah. Indiana
Let
Jones couldn't do it. Star
Nope.
Wars can't do it. No one could do
Tom
that.
Cruise wouldn't allow it in
Tom
Mission
Cruise,
Impossible.
right.
They
Didn't even
couldn't do it
try with Maverick,
they
Glenn
couldn't do
Powell
it
wasn't there to.
with Bourne. They couldn't do it
Yep,
with Bourne, right?
yep.
So the fact that they struck gold with Jenny Ortega and then it all fell apart. I think maybe they're arrogant enough to believe, we don't need to pay Nev $10,000,000. We can find the next Jenny Ortega and pay
Oof.
her jack shit." I
Oh,
mean, that's the thought. I mean, listen, because Nev is the ultimate final girl, right? You can't ever kill Sydney. You can't ever
mm,
kill her because she represents un the unkillable spirit, right? The person who can persevere through anything. She's an
right,
inspiring character. She is the best final girl there's ever been,
right.
okay?
She is every person's hope for their own immortality.
Yes, is that so many people wanna kill you, yet you always survive, and you get to kill a few people here and there, all
Yeah,
right?
which is great.
That's a life well lived. I think that they are not gonna pony up enough money because after this one, they were like, "Well, we didn't need her. This was the biggest one ever, made more than the first one. Let's just find somebody new." But again,
Mm,
they're gonna have to find I mean, they found Nev and then they found Jenny Ortega. A third time is impossible to be a charm. Who are they gonna find?
right.
It's gonna be impossible.
And I think the finding Jenny Ortega was, of course, the key. Or I don't know if they found her or she was, or what, what was Jenny Ortega's fame level before that Scream
No,
movie?
I mean, not big.
Not big. Okay.
Everybody came out of that being like, "Who is this? Like, who is this?
Okay.
She's really good."
So they were in that position though to mint a new star because they did have Nev Campbell and Arquette and Courtney Cox in
Yeah,
Five Cream.
yeah.
So if they go into Scream 7
Uh-huh.
with none of the Jenny Ortega cast, the
Yeah.
new younger people that everyone loved, they're not in it. And there's no legacy stars to hand it off to. That's direct to video level. That's Scream TV series on MTV level. You
I
got to
mean,
have you
the
either got to have Jenny Ortega and that new cast of stars, or you got to pony up and bring back Nev Campbell. You can't just do Scream 7 and nobody's in it.
I mean, Courtney Cox. It would be Courtney Cox, but nobody's going to see a
That doesn't
Scream
matter.
movie with Jess Gale.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
No.
Yeah, that's more of like a Scream companion podcast hosted by
Yeah,
Gale
yeah, yeah.
Weathers. It's
Her
not a
and
movie.
Jamie Kennedy would be doing a "Let's talk about Scream,"
Yeah.
a sort
No,
of,
or
like,
you have
recap
Gale Weathers
podcast.
in character talk
Uh
about the case, something like that. But
oh,
but
okay.
but either way,
I'd listen to that.
of course you would listen,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't go pay to watch it in a movie. Well, you would,
I
but
would, yeah, yeah, we're not talking about me, we're talking about the general public, the young people who found this franchise because they had people their age in this movie
so here's my prediction. I think this is gonna happen. And
with
I
Nev.
think with Nev, I think they're gonna pay Nev
They're
her
never gonna
number.
pay Nev, no, they're
I
not gonna
think they're
pay her
gonna
her
pay Nev
number.
her number, and I think because otherwise there's no path to a 7th Scream movie without her, in a way that would mean anything. Again, you can make a direct to video level movie. You can make a really cheapo Scream movie that does by far the lowest box office of the series.
They
You
won't do
could do
that.
that. You could do that. But I think if you don't pay Nev, that is what the 7th Scream movie would be. It would be guaranteed to be the lowest grosser of the franchise, and then you start damaging the franchise.
That is, I think, an
I think they
important
pay
thing
her.
to think about is it might be worth it to take a break here, not to damage the franchise, because I know it was on a hot streak, but that hot streak seems to have cooled down considerably because there are a lot of people who are not so hype on the Scream movies right now,
Right.
okay? So, if you do take a little time, a little breather, come back with something else, I think people will go see it. I think if you rush a 7 with Nev and nobody else, maybe Courtney Cox, I mean, I don't know.
Here's my prediction. It's gonna happen, and we're gonna have the announcement within the next 3 months that there is a Scream movie going into production with Nev Campbell as the star that will come out in 2025. That is my prediction right here today. It's gonna happen.
Wow,
Yeah.
2025 with Nev.
Yeah.
Do they get Lillard?
Yes. I think that's 100% the
That's the
move.
path then, that's the path,
That's the
because
path.
then now I'm hard.
Yeah, is you
Not to
bring
be
back.
coarse, I'm sorry, not to be crass, that was very crass, but I'm hard now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you if as long as you say not to be crass, then you could say that you're hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I'm
think that's
thoroughly hard for that.
yeah, I think that's that's what happens. Nev Campbell gets her money, Lillard gets his money, which is a lot less than what Nev's gonna get. Skeet Ulrich, even though his the character of his daughter wouldn't be in it because that actress is not part of the franchise anymore. I think the Skeet Ulrich ghost was a hit, and I think they'll bring back the Skeet Ulrich ghost in Scream 7.
Well, why can't the ghost be in Stu's head?
Oh, that's it'll be in Stu's head, and you could have Sydney admit, "Oh yeah, I've been seeing visions of him this whole time
Yeah, we
too."
all
You know,
do. We all
we all
see it.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
and this time he's helping her, whatever, whatever, because he's the one who knows Stu better than anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you will get that announcement very soon that Nev
So then
Campbell's coming
Nev
back to Scream
has,
7.
like, has, repentant, ghost, Skeet Ulrich ghost in her head,
Yes,
and Stu has evil, uh, uh, Skeet Ulrich ghost in his head.
right, right. Or you just never know, is the ghost playing them against each other? Is he lying to one of them and not to the other? Yeah, I think that's all a part of it.
I'm fully in on this.
Yeah, yeah. You're fully hard. It's gonna
Mhm.
be, I think, the only way to keep this franchise going.
So, okay, 2025, you're saying, and the announcement is gonna be coming in the next 3 months.
Yes, that is
We'll
my
see.
prediction. That's my
Listen,
prediction.
this is
Cl
on air. This is,
on
on the
air.
over the radio waves, you've said this prediction, so let's hold
Wanna
pat to these predictions.
wanna BO senior intern Christopher, here's what I'll say, clip it. Clip it.
Clip it.
Clip it. And he knows
Alright.
what that means. He knows what that means.
It's pretty
Before
obvious what it means.
but he knows. Even if yeah, he knows.
Okay.
Um,
He
I
should know. If
want
he doesn't know, he's one of those 25% that didn't know that Mean Girls was a musical.
oh, he can't be in that
No,
25%.
of course not.
All right. I just wanna before we go, I just wanna read a couple of emails, Clayton. BO boy, the BO boys podcast at gmail.com. We love getting your emails. Can I read you this email from Wanna BO Boy Max?
Sure.
So, subject, thank you for your service. And it reads, "Hello, BO Boys. My name is Max. I want to write in and thank you for saving my holidays. To explain, I was away from my family for the majority of Christmas Day. I was traveling for work from 3 in the afternoon until 2 in the morning." Clayton, you may have a fellow soot miner here
Yep.
in Max.
Yep.
He continues, "It was challenging and I made the best of it. But the one consistent element through the connecting flights and the long drives was listening to the back catalogs of the BO Boys. I was already caught up with current episodes, so I instead focused on the lovely appearances from Kirk, Minahan, Scott Mendelson, breaking down the Barbenheimer phenomenon. I've been listening since October, and I want to thank you for helping me enjoy my travels on Christmas Day. You boys are doing the Lord's work. I appreciate your coverage and commentary. Cheers."
Warms
Thank
the
you, Max.
heart.
Yeah,
Warms the
yeah,
heart. Yeah.
yeah. Got him through his Christmas travels away from his family,
Yeah.
but he got to spend that time with, I would say, listen, I don't know Mac's family. I'm sure they're great. He sounds like a
Right.
great guy, so I'm sure he's
Yeah.
got a great family. But I can't imagine his family is better than Kirk Minahan, Scott Mendelson, the BO
Us.
boys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
So
could his family, any one of his family members, do 2 hours of radio a week? 2 hours plus radio a week.
probably
Uh,
not.
yeah,
Probably not. I don't think so. And then when you add in a Kirk Minahan who's doing 2, 3 hours a
a
day, 4
day.
times a week, 5 times a week, firing
Right.
producers over there, hiring new producers. I mean, I don't think
I mean,
any, and again,
yeah, Uncle Chuck can't compete with that. Sorry. Sorry, Uncle
yeah,
Chuck. Uncle
yeah,
Chuck ain't competing with that.
no, no. So, you're welcome, Max. You're welcome, and glad that we could get you through the holiday and provide you with better family to spend time with. And let's see, we got an email from wannabe oh boy Waxy.
Waxy.
Waxy's back. So he has an email about anyone but you. He says, "Afternoon, fellas. Much like Clayton, I needed to get to the theater to experience the Something Like Mary-esque run this film is on. Film its third weekend. The theater was very much filled. Felt more like an opening weekend than a third weekend. Uh, and then Waxy says, I think a lot of people underestimated the popularity of Euphoria and Sydney Sweeney. The crowd was predominantly younger couples who were all there to see her. One of the other movies that seems to be dominating Twitter X is Saltburn. Saltburn stars Jacob Elordi, Sydney Sweeney's boyfriend in Euphoria. If I'm remembering correctly, Priscilla also opened stronger than what people were thinking. Let's remember that when we are projecting Dune 2's opening weekend, Euphoria has power. Love you guys from Wannabe Oh Boy, Waxy.
Love you too, Waxy. Yes, Euphoria has power, and we've already said Dune 2 is gonna be huge.
Huge, huge. Now, Euphoria is a show neither of us have watched.
Nope.
We're not
I've
really
seen clips,
supposed to
though.
watch. You've seen clips. That is about as much as I think we are socially allowed to watch of
Yeah,
Euphoria.
yeah.
So it is good that younger box office followers like Waxy, I'm sure like Austin, of course, Christopher, Jack, they're keeping us abreast about the Euphoria the Euphoria cast. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean Sweeney's the big one. Well, I mean Zendaya.
No, Zendaya's the big one.
Zendaya is the big one. Yeah,
Yeah.
Zendaya. I mean, yeah,
That's
yeah,
what made her.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, Elordi's got a ways to go before he catches up to
Yeah,
either
yeah,
of them.
yeah.
And he'll never catch up to Zendaya. Let's
No,
be
no,
honest.
no, no, no.
But yeah, thank you, Waxy. Euphoria has power. So Clayton, I think we've done it. I mean, email us theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. Give us 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Watch us on YouTube. We are YouTubers. Want to be our senior intern Christopher, killing it with the clips on YouTube, on Twitter X, on TikTok, and of course, Wannabe junior intern Jack brought the Substack back. He's writing articles 2-3 times a week. Just put up his thoughts about the Mean Girls opening weekend, of course, and writes just previews, reviews, and of course, he writes very special articles. Again, if you haven't seen his profile on the film Heat, he rewatched a classic, talked about that. That is a big article on the BO Boys Substack. So go there and subscribe. And yeah, I think that's it, Clayton.
Well, Pat, before can I just circle back to reviews really quick?
Sure, of
5-star
course.
reviews. I just wanna show how easy it is.
Okay.
This is all we need from you, okay?
Hmm.
We've got a review here, 5-star, of course. Steve G01 wrote, "Good. A good podcast for people, period." That is
Wow.
how simple it is. That
Wow.
is all you need to write. You don't have to be Shakespeare. I would actually say this is better than Shakespeare because it's to the point, no flowery language.
Hmm.
It tells you everything you need to know.
Yep.
These are the sort of reviews you can leave. You don't have to be a great writer. You don't have to be a man or a woman or a person
Person.
of many words.
Right.
You can write a good podcast for people just like Steve G01 did.
Wow.
Simple
Thank
as
you,
that.
Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve G01. Great review. All right. On that note, I think we've done it, Clayton.
There's nothing left to say
No, nothing.
except for until next time.
Will
Will smell
smell you
you
at
at the
the bar.
bar.